Today is the day that this thing is going to be complete. Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another NSX rebuild episode. When I say complete, I don't mean the entire car. Obviously, we have a ways to go before the car's complete. There's nothing on it besides a few panels with a few bolts. When I say complete, I mean the bare shell itself. The unicide and frame rail will be completely welded in. Before we do that, we have one important thing to figure out and to verify before I pull out the welder. Initially today, I was going to pull all the body panels back off, put it on the cart, slap it in the enclosed trailer, bring it to the glass shop and have them set the glass on it. I think it's gonna be quite a bit easier to just jump in the truck and go pick up the glass meaning the windshield. I'm still kind of new to this rebuild stuff, so I didn't save the old windshield. I tossed it in the dumpster, but we do need to verify that it fits properly in the specified area. Also, the last thing I want is anything moving around, unicide or frame rail wise, before it's welded in. So let's just jump in the truck and go ahead and pick up a new windshield. It is, yeah. It's actually kind of a big gap on this side. Is that normal?
Is it sitting right now on the bottom?
Or does it need to go lower?
I mean, but that's normal. I mean,
okay.
a small gap like that, that's hard
Same.
to say, but I mean, once you add glue, it's gonna be sitting a little higher up like this.
Yeah, okay.
And then we'll have to figure out what kind of molding to put on here.
I appreciate you bringing that by. So I went to go pick up the glass and they wouldn't let me transport it back here because it's rare and hard to find. So they just brought it over in their transport van, did a quick test fit, and it fits phenomenally. There was a little gap right here, maybe a 1/4 inch gap on this whole pillar, but it was the same exact little gap on this pillar as well. And their installer said that's absolutely normal, it's perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and weld this thing together. This frame rail is now 100% welded in place. The rail with the tower. I'm not too stoked on how the floor turned out. What I did was plug weld it and then tack weld it as well. But honestly, all that is going to be covered with the seam sealer like you can see from the factory. I'm gonna go ahead and replicate the factory as close as possible. And then up here for the strut tower, I do think I'm gonna do a little bit of body filler just to make it nice and pretty like the factory side is. Remember, all that's covered anyway. The only thing that's really gonna be visible is this area here, but I want this thing as close to OEM spec as possible. I got super close to getting all the seam sealer done. Unfortunately, my tube ran out. Now to some of you guys, this might look like a lot of seam sealer. All I'm trying to do is replicate the big blobs the factory put on. And I know from the factory it's gray, I'm putting black. Does it really matter? I would say probably not, because of course this is all going to be painted one color. I feel like every day there's a little learning lesson, a little mistake that I need to learn from. And today's mistake is with the unicide. So what I should have done, and Val explained this very clearly, is before I put it on, I should have cleaned all the paint off the backside, everywhere where it's gonna be welded, so that we could just weld it on right now. But unfortunately, I didn't do that. So we need to pull the unicide back off, which isn't a big deal. But the big deal is we need to get it back on the car in the exact location, exact to the freaking millimeter location that it's in right now. So my plan is to add a bunch of self-tappers, probably 20 self-tappers, pull it off, get it all cleaned up, prepped out, ready for welding, and then put it back on using the same self-tappers. And if all 20 holes line back up, technically, we should be good. Unicide is back off. Before we go ahead and get that completed, we need to get this piece right here all finished up. It's welded up top, and that's it. So we need to weld it back to the firewall and to the rocker. I'm not too concerned with the appearance of this piece here. I wanted it, of course, to be fully welded in properly. So that is gonna be good. It's left as is. Now we need to go ahead and prep out the chassis where the unicide sits and prep out the unicide. One more session of welding and grinding and seam sealing, and the shell will be 100% complete. So you guys saw, I went ahead and drilled some holes all around this whole entire unicide. What we're gonna be doing is plug welding those holes. So it's aluminum on the back side of the hole. We'll weld starting at the center of the hole, and we're gonna fill the holes with weld and then grind it smooth, which should look very, very nice. It's not gonna look quite like factory because the factory has a little divot right there. But in my opinion, this is going to be the best option. Just like that. Right there was a hole, and right there was a hole. Welded it, ground it flat. That is exactly what we need to do for about 100 different holes. After I got done welding the roof, I came back and some of them had broken off, and I was a little bit worried that a lot of these were breaking off as well, which some did. What I did is grab a pry bar and pry and try to break every single one of the spot welds, and whatever ones broke, I re-drilled and re-welded. As of right now, everything is ground down. It looks very, very nice and clean all the way through there. All that looks very good as well. I am going to go through, maybe not today, but I'm going to try to do it today, go through and body fill and sand down all of this and all of this as well, just to hide any little imperfections that there may be. But while I have the welder out, I'm going to try and go ahead and get this piece fixed up, cleaned up, and welded on. This piece, to buy a replacement, is $773, which I really want to replace, but man, that's a lot of money, and it is completely hidden once the car is together. So let's see about getting this thing cleaned up and welded in place. So that's what I ended up with. Not the most beautiful thing in the world, but after some seam sealer like it is factory, I think it's gonna look perfectly fine. I probably should have just bought a new one, but it's a little bit too late now. Let's go ahead and seam seal that up and everything else up that we need to seam seal, and we can move on to the body filler work that we need to do. "74 hours of work later, we're done. This thing is officially complete, kind of. There's two pieces that we need to consider this 100% complete. There's the cover here that I did not order, and the bottom rail piece that I didn't order as well. So those are both coming in from Japan. They'll probably be here. We can ship those by air, so probably in a week or two, and then we can get those on. But all the hard work is done. Our filler is sanded very nice and smooth. It should match quite nicely with the factory spot welds right here. Granted, that's all covered up by the seals anyway, but I want it to look as nice as possible. The goal whenever I'm doing this kind of work is to make it so that no one ever knows that the work was done. I don't think I achieved that with this project. If you know what you're looking for, you're gonna be able to tell that stuff's not factory. Like some of the welds, some of the seam sealer, you're gonna know. But overall, all in all, I gave it my best. Way more importantly, I know that everything is gonna fit exactly how it should. And I know this thing is just as safe as it was when it left the factory. What do you think, Piston? Do you approve? My friends, that is going to be a wrap on the day. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for following me along as I struggle to fix my NSX back to factory condition.